Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, episode 67, July 8th, 2023. So glad you could make it. We'll start off with we'll get to the playlist, second half of the playlist. There's 13 more tracks. I know you are looking forward to hearing what playlist I make. I don't know why. I thought that would be a good podcast, but anyway. But as usual, I'll ramble on about some random stuff. And one of the things that happened this week, I've been having some dreams, man. I don't know, like if I've been living in REM or if I'm not getting there and I'm just in that first stage of, I don't know, that, what do you call it? Where you have hallucinations and stuff, stage one, kind of into stage two, for those of you who know about sleep cycles. But I've been having some pretty wild dreams, and one of them, I guess I don't really remember what the content was up until the end, but at the end, it was just a constant refrain. It was weird because it was kind of like a show tune type Broadway scene, but it was just saying, "We must witness this. We must witness this," over and over again, like in a show tune style. So random and random start here, but I like words and I like etymologies and I like trying to understand where words come from and to try to get at what they mean on a whole level. Um, and so anyway, I've been looking up that word witness and what that means. A different kind of dream that I had was that I dreamed that I was a new grandfather. There's some random other wild stuff that happened in that dream that I cannot share with you on the air here. But the one of the things that did happen was that my name in this dream was Pappy, and I think I'm here for that. If I am, if I ever end up being a granddad, grandfather, then I think Pappy D, that might be all right. We'll see. I read this quote from Seneca. I'm a big quote guy, and I've been writing down a lot of the ones that I find on Instagrams and such on little note cards and putting them up different places. And one of them was from an ancient dude named Seneca, and he says, "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life." And I like that. I like that idea of starting over each day. And so I did look up how many days it's been, and I have it on my Google search kind of permanently now, days since 12878. And so this, according to Seneca, if I'm going to go with him, and I do, this is life number 16,597 for me. My kids have been jabbing me a little bit about me being old. I got a new set. I talked about how Isaac had gotten into some Bob Ross painting and was doing really well at it, but the oil paints it's just too much in a lot of ways. Like, it comes out with beautiful stuff. I don't really like the smell, and we did learn that you better not do that inside after the first time. But it's just cleanup and storage of all that stuff that it's not good. It's not a good situation, to have with a 14-year-old and or a 45-year-old. I don't like cleaning it up either. So I got a new acrylic paint set for Isaac, and the deal with Bob Ross is that he does this wet on wet technique. Like, he paints the whole canvas with the liquid white, and then he goes with his yellow ochre and all that stuff on top of it. So I had to get a retarder, which slows down the drying process. That's the issue with acrylic. Isaac looks at me every time I say that word, as though I'm not supposed to say that, which on the one hand is good because he knows not to call people that. But on the other hand, like, come on, man. We can't just throw away all of our words when they actually mean something. But anyway, didn't mean to make a political statement out of the acrylic paint set. But I'm looking forward to that. All that stuff should be here today, and it won't be the exact same colors that Bob Ross uses. So Isaac will have to figure out how to mix it up, and I've learned some good tips from my friend Sarah at Hannah's. She's an art person, and so um, I've been looking up stuff to do for hotels near, or I've been looking up hotels near Star Lake Pavilion, which is in Burgettstown, Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh. I've rearranged this trip that I was planning on taking this summer. Was planning on going up kind of all the way up through the Northeast, Pittsburgh up to Syracuse, New York, stopping by the falls, and then down through Philly. But circumstances have changed, and so I had to kind of rearrange my schedule. And so next week, I'm taking off. We're leaving on Tuesday, but I, I was gonna cancel this Burgettstown at Star Lake Pavilion. Um, it's fish for 2 nights, and so, but the guy says you can't. This is not cancelable, and I don't want to go into all the details. But we went back and forth for about an hour on text. Him trying to say it's clear on his website, and me saying no, it isn't. Like the conferences that you're talking about. Anyway, um, I'll be glad to show you if anybody's really interested. I can show you, but man, finally I called him back and I was like, look, because I was going to have to pay for it if it didn't re-rent. And so I've got these tickets, and am I going to sell the tickets? Well, I don't want to sell them. If I'm going to be on the hook for this room, then I might as well try to go if it's available. And so anyway, I called him back the other day, and I could tell like he was not glad that I was calling because, um, like I said, we went back and forth for about an hour, and finally I was like, look, he did admit that his website was confusing, and they're going to go forward fixing that. And I'm like, well, anyway, so headed up there next week. What is this? 2 weekends. So 2 weekends from now will be the Burgettstown show. So hopefully that will work out pretty well. It's a bed and breakfast, so um, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I've been looking up things to do in Huntsville as well. That's the first leg of the trip. Taking Sam, my oldest boy, and then his two homeboys, Zeke and Jaden, down with me. Not driving together, although that was the original plan. But we're driving down Tuesday morning, picking up my friend David at the airport, and then getting down for a couple of nights at the Orion Amphitheater in Huntsville, also fish. And then I'm gonna head from there over to Alpharetta for a couple more nights, three more at the Alpharetta Pavilion and near outside Atlanta. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely excited about all that. Come back around to that in just a second. But I tried the threads, man. I did. I tried the threads and the new Mark Zuckerberg Twitter. And, I was on there right away. I was one of the first, how many ever millions of people. And so it was still sorting itself out. And I don't know what it's like now. But really, I don't like Twitter. And so it's not really a commentary. This is not a commentary on the fact that Threads doesn't have this or it doesn't have that. I just don't care to read all of that other stuff and be scrolling through that feed constantly. I got my Instagram stories of, that I wish people would post more of. And also I've got like iMessage. And so I have the threads with the people, like I have that kind of group situation going on. I don't know why I would want to duplicate that in a different format, but maybe you can convince me that I should rejoin the threads as we all witness. Maybe that's what my dream was about. We must witness this, and we are forced to witness this nonsense playing out between Musk and Zuckerberg. Such are the times. But yeah, it was kind of a grand opening, grand closing for me for threads. I think I made it not quite 24 hours. How about they're somebody's doing the cocaine in the White House, and so I was trying to look up a slang way to say that, it kind of ends up that Joe Blow works out pretty well. I don't know if I feel confident it probably wasn't Joe. I don't think he needs to be doing the cocaine, but maybe because he's like 1,000 years old, and I'm not mad at old people, but I don't want him to be president. Especially again when you'd be 86 or whatever by the time he would get done. So I hope it's time for him to step aside, just for comparison. Okay, I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old you are, but like in the election of 2000, Al Gore got more popular votes by what, like 500,000, something like that. It wasn't massive. It all came down to Florida. Florida recounts, recounts, recounts. In the end, the recounts were stopped. George W. Bush was ahead, and he became president by the slimmest of margins in the Electoral College. Al Gore. Okay. That was 2000. 23 years later, Al Gore is younger than Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Like, Al Gore is 75. So, yeah, Joe Biden needs to step aside. Kurt Loder, by the way, from MTV News is 78. If you were from my generation that watched MTV News. Um, but yeah, anyway, like the well, let's have tea time with Mara just a little bit. Um, this trip is big for me. I love fish. Obviously, I talk about it every week, probably since Fish Radio started, and maybe during the 2020 nonsense, like trying to work through all that kind of stuff and work through a bunch of stuff. Fish's music has been really important to me, and so it is that. Like I'm excited to go to a string of shows to try to catch as many of the songs that I would love to hear live, to enjoy all that scene. I don't know if it's going to just totally wear me out. It's going to be wild. Um, but I'm going down with my son and his friends for the first couple of nights, but after that, like it'll be me on my own. And I've been billing this for the longest time as Set Your Soul Free, Set Your Soul Free Summer. And I've made a playlist, and I haven't even listened to it yet. Like I've been adding different songs to it for the drives, and it will only play on Tuesday morning when I take off. Because there are things that I need to do. Like I need to learn to be away. And like I have these issues with being away because I think that maybe somebody's going to need me. And what will happen if I'm not here to help you solve all your problems? And you know, um, that's not healthy. I understand that. Not that you shouldn't want to be there for people and anything like that, but I need to learn to be away. It's been difficult the last couple of nights with one of my kids not feeling too well. Like I have this part of me that is hyper vigilant, that is hypersensitive, that is always eager to hear the thing that is going to be wrong so that I can spring into action. And therefore I don't sleep because every single little sound I'm anticipating is a sound that I'm going to need to help try to solve somebody else's problem, even when it's minor, and so I do tend to anticipate those things and blow things out of proportion, and that hypervigilance. And so this is part of it, is that I need to learn to be away. That's setting my soul free, and that people can deal with their own stuff. Like there's this hand motion that I've learned through my therapy, that I put my right hand on my gut and my left hand out like a stop sign. That I'm separate. People are separate from me, and not only can but need to learn how to manage their own situations, because life requires those types of things. So anyway, I saw another shirt or I saw a shirt, because I'm all into graphic tees, although I never do buy it because I'm spending all my money on fish. But um, it was a Schoolhouse Rock shirt, and I'd love to get the one that says I'm just a bill, or there's one where the bill's kind of dejected, is like I'm still just a bill. But I knew about that one, but there was one Schoolhouse Rock that's about unpacking your adjectives, and I watched it. But when I first read it, like I thought about it in a different way. The unpack your adjectives is really just teaching kids how to describe things. But I saw it, and I want to begin to unpack the adjectives that I use. Like I want to understand if I say something is scary, or I say something is terrifying, or I say something is beautiful, or I say something is any adjective, you get it, that I want to begin to unpack that. I want to begin to peel away the layers of what it is that I'm really meaning, like drill down, is that a term? In what do I mean by it's terrifying? And try to begin to understand, it's inviting. Here we are, we're in tea time, right? It's inviting that hypervigilance in, it's inviting that fear in, and recognizing that it is a part of me, and that it should be a welcome part of me. And I should recognize the suffering and learn from it, because we know that that's real anyway. Um, so set your soul free, unpack your adjectives. I'm going to be seeing a lot of fish, but I'm going to be doing a lot of, hopefully, soul searching. Um, yeah. The AP scores came out, and man, my kids rocked the house. Is that a thing people say? Um, 89%, just one short of 100% in AP government, and then 2/3 passed in AP Psych. So, man, I'm just thrilled. Sydney, 4 for 4 as a sophomore. She took 4 AP classes. She made two fives, a four, and a three. Um, the three was in a semester AP U.S. history class, which is impossible. You can't teach all that in a semester. Anyway, the sunflowers, man, her sunflowers are growing so tall, and they bent over in this crazy storm that we, excuse me, in this crazy storm that we had the other day. They bent all the way over, but they didn't break. But they were definitely swayed over, and they were leaning over. And the sun came back out, and I went out and I put my finger on the little spiky stalk of some of the bigger ones and helped them a little bit stand back up tall. But then they stayed there, and then you could see them lurching back towards the sun and straightening themselves out. It was magnificent, and I will unpack what I mean by magnificent next week. Just a random question. Is cinnamon sweet? I continue to read Frederick Bachman. All I have left for him are two of the novellas that he has. I finished Britt Marie Was Here, I think is what it was called. And just so good. And I sold the ping pong table. I think the folks are going to come get it today. We bought it during the 2020 when we were uh, having to do things here, and had some good times on it. I think I got tired of it when my son beat me playing left-handed. I hate losing, man. God, I hate losing. And but anyway, so I put it on there, and it's a great table. And Isaac thinks I'm funny because I was like, I'll take 200 for it, or 175, or 150, whichever you think is best. And of course, it sold for 150, and it sold for 150 in about 1 minute. Um, would I've been glad to take 200? Yes. Was I really only hoping to get 100? Also, yes. And so I'm bringing home $150, and that will help me set my soul free. Let's see. Happy Fourth to you all. It's the weekend after. Man, America, it's great. It's great, and not so great sometimes, because we're people, because we're humans, and because humans are terrible sometimes to each other. And our founders set the system up knowing that, and it's creaky maybe, and it's fractured maybe in certain ways. But if you begin to think about like the human situation, I don't know if you do that or not. I don't know if you consider like what it's like to be human, and if we were just dropped at the beginning, and what you have to do to build civilization, and what is required to have shelter and food, and what the economy is like in smaller groups of people. Our scale is obviously much bigger then, and that's why our destruction is bigger. But it isn't as though like people back in the day didn't ravage the land. It's just that anyway. Um, See Ken Wilber for all that. But I'm glad, man. The fourth, it's great, and hopefully we'll be able to figure it out as we move forward. We always have, so far for not quite 250 years. But I'm reading this book, man. I'm reading this. The new book is called "The Covenant of Water." Abraham. Verghese. I don't know how he says his name, but this is I called it high literature when I was talking about it yesterday. It's definitely different than Frederick Backman, but it's set in India, and it's at the beginning set in India in 1900. And in 1900, this 12-year-old girl was married off to a 40-year-old man. Now it all works out, so far. It's nothing terrible or awful, or it's actually beautiful the way that it's written. Um, but this is what I'm saying. Like, let's we got some terrible things, man. We got some terrible things. Don't misunderstand. I'm not. But anyway, perspective is a real thing. I did see this movie called 1776 that was made in 1972, and I was watching it because there was nothing else on, I guess, on the fourth. And um, have y'all ever watched Boy Meets World? Like Mr. Feeney, he was John Adams. He was John Adams in this movie called 1776 in 1972. It was great. The guy that played Thomas Jefferson, I think, also is in Parks and Rec, but I can't place him quite yet. But on the fourth, what I did was I got to watch Marvel movies. We watched the Avengers and flipped back and forth over to The Last Jedi, but mainly we were staying on watching the Avengers. But I got to do that with my dad. I stayed with my dad in case he needed anything because he doesn't get up much anymore. His strength is running low. And my mom and everyone had a great time shooting off fireworks and stuff like that. And I had a great time because I got to lay around and watch Avengers with my dad, and we had have a little bit of conversation here and there. I got to get him a cup of water. And that will be a meaningful thing for me for a long time. Um, so yeah, my dad will be admitted into hospice care, home hospice next week, and so we will kind of begin that stage of this battle um, with his sickness, with his cancer. So anyway, yeah, I'll be thinking about my dad and my mom. Not really a halftime per se, but wanted to break it up and then get into the end of the playlist. We did the first 13 tracks. Again, the playlist is called Lyfe, Lyfe. And it's inspired a lot by the situation with my dad and with the situation with me doing the Set Your Soul Free summer and all that kind of stuff. Like that was just the mood that I was in. But I listened to it again through just the other day and preparing for the podcast, and it is just such a great playlist. Track 14 is The Captain and the Kid, an old Jimmy Buffett song. And it just made me, you know, I never used to miss the chance to climb upon his knee and listen to his many tales of life upon the sea. My dad isn't really a sailor, but he began to change all that other stuff. Um, Such a good one from Jimmy Buffett. The next one is called Miss You. It's Trey and Page on an album called December that they made a couple of years ago. And yeah, you can kind of get what the gist of it is. Track 16 on the playlist is All in Time by Acoustic Syndicate, and it's one of their new songs on their last album. They have since retired from playing music. Hopefully, they'll do a reunion show at some point. But if you're like me, then you know these guys, not just their music, but you know that they're amazing people. But all in time, there is light, and in the light there is love. In the light there is hope, and yeah, like that one. Track 17 is Mumford and Sons, Below My Feet. And those first two albums that they put out were just something else. And not to hate on some of their other ones. Um, that some of the other tracks on some of the other albums, but those first couple, but Below My Feet, keep my, oh man, just let me learn from where I've been. Track 18 is Sweet, Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews Band. Watch the Parks and Rec. David Matthews, Crash Into Me. Um, but Sweet, man. You ever been in too deep and then when you make it out, it feels so sweet? Yeah. Dave playing the little tiny guitar, little little mandolin type guitar on that one, and we got to see that one. We got to see it live, um, so that's a meaningful one for us. The next one is Neil Young. Track 19 is Neil Young, Out on the Weekend. And I'm not a lonely boy out on the weekend. Like, I'm not. That's not the gist of it. Honestly, like, this song, I first heard it from an old recording that I had on a CD. Um, what was that called? Severe Driving Problems, and it was John Bell and Mikey Hauser, like the two guys that started Widespread Panic. And it's just the two of them playing some of their old songs, like Fire on the Mountain. Not their old songs, but playing, covering some other old songs like Fire on the Mountain and stuff like that. And they had this one on there. And so I knew this song by John Bell singing it before I actually realized that it was a Neil Young tune. Um, so that's what makes me really like this one. But it is like the let me start up. Let me try and find a new place to call my own. Track 20 is Salvation Song, Avett Brothers. This is just kind of our family song. You know, we came for salvation. We came for family. We came for all that's good. That's how we'll walk away. We came to break the bad. Came to cheer the sad. So yeah, man, that song is so meaningful to us. Track 21 is If We Were Vampires, Jason Isbell. And this is on the Nashville Sound, which I think is the best album of the 400 unit. I mean, Southeastern and like the solo stuff. But If We Were Vampires is just about, man, if we had all the time, then we'd be cool. It'd be all right. But maybe time running out is a gift, and we'll work hard till the end of our shift. I'll give you everything I got because I do recognize this whole thing is temporary. Track 22 has Been There Again, another Acoustic Syndicate song from one of their older albums called Long Way Around, which I think is their best album. But this song has Been There Again. I got to request this song at a show that I went to back in 2007. I got to ask Steve what it was about, and what it's about is the guy's like alter ego, and he's kind of battling back and forth with who he thinks he should have been, who he thinks he could have been. In the end, he realizes that who he is just fine. Um, but such a great tune. Man, I was wailing that one. I was singing loud with that one. 23, just a couple more, is Life Beyond the Dream. Um, it's a Fish song again. Hope they play it. Don't give up hope. Keep on dreaming. You know, don't give up hope. 24 is Mandolin Orange, and this really was when they were Mandolin Orange before they were Watch House. Off their House of Stone album. Is that what it's called? I think the whole album is no. This Side of Jordan is what it's called. It's the first album that I got into from Mandolin Orange. I remember hearing it on my brother's Spotify a long time ago, and then I just dove straight in as I will. And man, their music is just it's just magical. And this one, Until the Last Light Fades, you know, what is it? If heaven and hell. Oh man, I'm not doing good preparation for today. I thought I could wing all this kind of stuff. But check out the lyrics to Until the Last Light Fades. Um, it's about holding on and recognizing how love is unstoppable and life is. Um, 25, King for a Day. Another Acoustic Syndicate song, other than ones that made the three. And I'm so glad you came to spend the day. I'm so glad you came to spend the day. And then the end is Ain't Life Grand, Widespread Panic, the first song that I ever heard and remember liking from Widespread Panic, Ain't Life Grand. And that's it, man. Like, I wanted to end the playlist with that. Like, there's a bunch of sad songs, there's a bunch of longing for more time. There's like I Miss You, there's reflecting songs and all that. But in the end of a playlist called Life, you got to admit, Ain't Life Grand. So you should listen to the last 2 weeks and dial this playlist up. Or if you have Apple Music, just let me know and I'll share it with you. Um, but this has been a Church of Six production. Next week we'll be on the road on location in Alpharetta, Georgia, if things go as imagined. So I already got it on my packing list to take all my podcast gear with me. And so we'll be Church of Six on location next week. Brought to you by the Bucket of Life, the Magic Rock ×2, the Foundation Tower of Stone, the Wall of Belief, and the Token of Hope, and the Rope of Recognition. If we could just recognize the divine in each other, if we could recognize the universe, the universal in each other, I think that would go a long way towards healing some of these divisions. Nothing divine is desperate, and may all your circumstances serve to awaken compassion. And as you go, teach peace. Don't forget to believe, y'all, and be live. Peace, my friends.